Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show on News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in on this Open Line Friday, final hour of the program. And we bring in studio. It's time for a Tepper tantrum. Carl Tepper.
I'm ready. Let's go. First of all, I have a tantrum every day pretty much. Matt Martin, get out of town. Matt Martin, are you listening up? Matt, if you don't know where the barn is at Texas Tech, get out.
I was driving in today when Matt,
yeah,
Matt Crow.
Yeah, Matt Crow was on.
And neither of them knew the dairy barn over at Texas Tech.
Matt Crow gets a pass, not from here, from California. He's still fairly new here, I would
He's
argue.
been here long enough.
If you don't know where the barn is, get out. It's like in Austin. Like if you live in Austin, never swam at Barton Springs.
Right.
Get out.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't know where the barn is or Prairie Dog Town in Lubbock, never visited Prairie Dog Town, leave.
I've never visited Prairie. No, I've been once. I've been once to Prairie Dog Town.
Okay, you get to stay. Everyone else, pack up your stuff.
Either that
leave.
or it was a field.
Right, Jody? If you've never.
I've been to a bunch of Prairie Dog
Why would you go to a Prairie Dog Town? Why would you bother going?
It's just one of the things you do. You know, Prairie Dog Town, I think, is number like 4 or 5 in the visitor list of Lubbock. I mean, everybody goes to Jones AT&T Stadium for the games.
I don't believe that.
And then there's like, I think it's 2 or 3.
I don't
Everyone
believe that.
Takes family to Prairie Dog. They want to see
think
the Prairie
someone's
Dogs.
sponsoring that. I don't believe that's true.
I guess how would they know? There's no. You don't pull a ticket or anything when you go over there.
No. If you're visiting Lubbock, you're going to Texas Tech. You're going to number 1 and number 2 is Texas Tech and one of the hospitals. Like that is for tourism. Number 1, number 2.
They have a good cafeteria at those hospitals. I always thought Prairie Dog Town should be a town. Like somebody should build a little train, like a little Lionel, like a little Lionel set that goes around, and the Prairie Dogs could jump on it, or you could put the food on one of the little cars, and the Prairie Dog would chase it around.
You could get a drone and like capture one of the Prairie Dogs and like fly them around.
No, I did see
that.
I did see a hawk. I was on horseback one day. I saw a hawk taking a Prairie Dog away.
Nice.
And it was really sad. It looks like a person.
I was going to say, you could rent out 22s and you could ride on the train.
Now we're talking about a real Prairie Dog
Now
town.
you'd make some money.
Is that your location
We'll call it the
for the Bullets and Bacon fundraiser at Prairie Dog Town?
We'll call it the Southside Prairie Dog Town.
Robert Pratt would like that. You can have the Bullets and Bacon at Prairie Dog. He says it's good hunting on his lead-in, and so that's what you need to do.
So you bring up the dairy barn, and as I was driving in this morning, I heard Matt talking about the dairy barn, and they didn't know what the dairy barn was. And I'm probably like you. You're probably like, what are you? How do you not know where the yeah? But Matt, it's he's not. He didn't go to Tech. I mean, so there's a little bit of separation.
Did he work there?
Yeah.
Did he work there? Matt, get out of town. Pack up your stuff and leave.
He didn't work at the barn.
He didn't.
He should still know what the dairy barn is. If you've ever spent any time on the Tech campus, you should know the dairy barn, or in at least a little history of the dairy barn. Not everything, but
should we give it now, I guess? Did we do the history? Look, a lot of the Tech students in the early days paid for school by milking. There used to be cows over there.
Yeah, it was a true dairy barn.
And they used to milk the cows. And
they would bring their cows over, before they went to class, they would bring their cows onto campus.
Yeah, it's like one of those Pennsylvania Dutch things. It's out here in West Texas, one of these big, beautiful dairy barns, right, Jody? And it's out there in the middle of, used to be able to see it from around. Now it's been built up around. You've got the English philosophy building, beautiful building.
You got Spanish building nearby.
And, of course, the library blocks it on one end. But you should still know where it is. I mean, goodness gracious.
Yeah, so they're going to redo it. They're going to redo and I
flip through those photos.
One of the regents
beautiful.
said, "You're not going to make this look weird, are you?" Which is probably one of the best quotes from a regent. You're not going to make this look weird. And they're like, no, we're going to make it look nice.
It looks great.
And
those photos are great.
Yeah, and so like the upstairs of it. The upstairs of it looks like it's going to be a gathering space with a bar. You see what I'm looking at here?
They made a man cave. Will they get it? Will they get a tax abatement on their flat screen TVs?
Maybe they can ask Lita. I don't. It's not downtown, so probably not. But you've got a bar here, but you've got nothing else. You just got some guy sitting at a bar. So I'm wondering. Like, is this a place where I can go get a shiner?
Yeah, the architect didn't draw the drinks in there. Do they have the ground floor? What are they going to do with the ground floor?
The ground floor is it looks like a half museum with another bar.
I don't know if I like that much. They need to kind of leave it a little open and put a fireplace. Like the Fraser Alumni Pavilion has the fireplace and everything, and that's going to be great fundraisers in there. I'll tell you right now. That is long overdue. They've done some dumb stuff on Texas Tech. That new athletic practice facility is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. I'm sorry.
The athletic.
Everyone keeps saying how beautiful. Oh, it's horrible. What a horrible next to the stadium there.
Okay.
I think it's horrible looking, but this is better. Now they're sticking a bunch of trees. And they stuck a bunch of trees in Memorial Circle there.
Yeah.
First, they stuck that incredibly ugly fountain thing in the middle of Memorial Circle. They used to do the most beautiful flower arrangements and patterns around the flagpoles there, and it was incredible. And then, the architect designed Texas Tech, and there was an article I had read about this. And sure enough, the architect intended Texas Tech to be like West Texas, a little open, not tons of trees. Yeah, you've got a few old growth trees that we like, but it's West Texas. Trees aren't natural to here. So he left it open, and then so they put that amazingly ugly Memorial Circle fountain in there. And now they're sticking a bunch of trees in there just to stick trees anywhere because they didn't like that it was open. So look, all you I'm speaking to myself a little bit because I am a Yankee.
Aren't you a Yankee?
All you Yankees who want to stick trees everywhere, that's not West Texas. Get those stupid trees out of there. They don't belong there. You're supposed to be able to look all across. The engineering key, and then also from the front, I'd say the gullet at Texas Tech, where you have from University and Broadway, you're supposed to be able to look straight through because that's West Texas.
They're putting trees down that way too. They want you to go in. It's going to be one big tree. It's going to be a forest. They're
just, go back to Vermont, people. Okay, with your stupid
trees.
Candidate for state rep from New Hampshire and Indiana.
Wait, who's that?
Who's that guy? I can't remember. He's running against Dustin Burrow. He's a real.
That's right.
He doesn't belong here at all. And that's the type of people who are coming in, and they're just
Carl's throwing everybody out. Carl's ready to build a wall.
Everyone's
not on the southern border, but around Lubbock.
Build a wall around Lubbock.
He's going to build a wall.
If you haven't been to Prairie Dog Town, if you don't know where the barn is, or if you want to stick a tree all over Texas Tech University campus, get out. Okay, we want it to grow. We want to grow, but we want smart growth. Okay, let me steal a line from Al Gore, if I may. Smart growth. We don't want stupid people here.
Are you quoting Al Gore and throwing other people out? I don't think that's allowed.
I like the term smart growth. Yeah. So
they got patio tables outside the barn too. What do you think about that? You like the patio tables?
Like they should have an ice cream shop down there. It's a dairy barn.
That would be great.
Make an ice cream shop.
That'd be fantastic.
But make it free market. Call Holly Hops. They do it right. I like that place.
Yeah.
Call Holly Hops and let them have a little satellite deal over there.
See, that's what I'm wondering is, are they going to have like a little coffee shop in here? Milk. Put milk in the coffee if you want to do that.
That's really smart, yeah.
You get a coffee shop because I'm wondering, they got 2 bars in this place.
Right.
So make one a coffee bar and for students who are on that side of the campus.
Yeah.
And then you can put when you have events upstairs, load that sucker up with some Shiner.
That is long overdue. I'm looking at the barn and what they're going to do to it, and finally I have something to say, hey, way to go, Regions. That's a good job. I like that.
Yeah. They're also going to build a new athletic cafeteria for athletes.
So the athletes can have riots out there instead of going down to Main Street. They can have their riot in front of the cafeteria.
Exactly. Yeah, they're going to eat right here, like for lunch and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know where on campus this is, by the way. Because the AJ has a picture of where this dining hall is going to be, and there's nothing. There's no other buildings around it. It's just grass and almost invisible trees.
This architect gets it. He has like 2 or 3 trees, which is appropriate, and then the rest is
nothing.
Wide open.
There's no other buildings.
I
don't know where that's
it's supposed to be in West Texas, just wide open, big sky.
That's like they're putting this in Levelland, I think. They're going to drop it in Levelland where there's nothing else. And they're just going to leave it.
Something to connect the vet school in Amarillo.
Right.
You have to have something halfway. I should really be Plainview then, shouldn't it, really?
Yeah. How about that? Maybe take a few. Are they going to maybe have a cow? Every now and then have a cow go by the dairy barn.
That's very good. Very smart. They're going to have a cow. Is that what you were trying to? Is that a pun?
No,
Did you
I was
intend the
actually
pun?
meant like a cow.
Oh, no, I'm having a cow.
Okay.
But, okay.
But like actual take a cow to the dairy
good.
barn every now and then. Like when they have a ribbon cutting, have a cow
No,
out
we're not
there.
the long. See, Chad, get out. We're not the Longhorns.
I didn't say
okay,
a
that's
longhorn.
UT.
I said a dairy cow.
Okay. No, they should have the horse out there every once in a while. That'd be great. Put the Texas Tech, the master rider out there, and it would be what a fun deal. I really like the way they did that.
You have spent your entire show today on utter cow. Get it?
Utter, very good.
Ridiculousness.
People are so smart. Yeah. I like that. It's very clever.
It's an open line Friday. That's what we do.
I like that. Are you ready to talk about Ted Cruz? You want to wait till after the break?
Let's do that after we take the break. Let's talk about Ted Cruz when we come back. 770-5790, 1-800-687-0790. Another texture real quick. Now I know why I do like Carl. He hates trees.
I don't hate trees.
Or maybe why I don't like Carl. Something was left out here. He hates trees.
Appropriate trees. We're looking for the appropriate trees.
Yeah. We'll be right back. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in. Carl Tepper in studio.
Tepper and Rob Snyder. Rob Snyder has an announcement to make.
I don't think he does. I think he was just hanging out.
I think
now
he does. He has an announcement to make. Come on. I want to hear it.
Technically, that's not public information. So you can't put me on the spot like that.
You can't say, but that's awesome, Carl. Way to go.
Well, you did do awesome, and you guys already talked about you being awesome last segment.
I haven't heard enough.
Can I do? How about I do this?
Right.
How about I do this? Okay. In studio right now, the host of the #1 rated PolitiFaith.
We're #1.
Carl Tepper.
We do. We have ratings. I'm very, very happy.
You have ratings.
I'm always shocked. People come up to me. I was telling Chad, people come up to me at the grocery store.
You
Carl Tepper, and then I duck because I think I'm going to get...
You have more ratings than some radio stations. You have more ratings than some people that attempt to do a show 5 days a week.
Oh, man.
I mean, you have more ratings than people that attempt to do a podcast 5 days a week. I mean... those are all true.
Let me tell you this, Carl. There are, and Rob, I don't think you'll be upset if I mention this. There are other talk stations that wish they had your ratings, my friend.
That's really great. Thank you, guys.
Because you know why? They have none.
Thanks. It was a time slot to fill. Rob was doing that time slot for a while. I think you're actually an excellent radio show host, and so we took the show, and KFYO really helped me out. And then Matt Crow and Alan Corbin jumped in and took it seriously. They did a lot of show prep for me and continue to. And but you never know if anyone's listening on a Sunday afternoon right after church to AM radio. I mean, they're out there.
Remember, KFYO is more than that. We're
KFYO is
online, and we're on FM, and we're on your cell phone.
Absolutely, Rob's about to take your ratings away.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, absolutely. But it is a great. I mean, KFYO is one of the storied, stations in talk radio, and so that's definitely helpful. And so the show's kind of taken off a little bit. I get stopped in a lot of places unexpectedly about people are listening to the show, and I thought, boy, maybe there's a rating to be had there, and sure enough, we hit something. So thanks, guys. I've had help from you, Chad, you, Rob, and a lot of people, and Jody. Is the engineer a lot? Jody's a great engineer and almost one of the on-air personalities because he's always. It's fun to talk to you, Jody, when you're on somebody to talk to, when you're just looking at a microphone and somebody who might respond and have something clever to say. So thanks everybody. It's been fun doing it, and we've got some more stuff coming up. We're bringing in some more guests to the show, different members of the clergy, and last week we have Dr. John Howe at Texas Tech University. Talking about, actually this weekend it's starting, they're going to have an exhibition on the Bible, a lot of the old parchments and some very close reproductions and some explanation.
I mean, if you remember over 10 years ago, they had the Vatican exhibit,
right,
which was incredible to see.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, so sorry, I took a little detour there.
That's all right.
I had
That's
to stroke the ego a little bit.
We got some balloons and everything. It's good.
Yeah. And you can shoot them. Shoot the balloons.
Yeah. We're #1.
We'll get you an ice cream cake.
That's right.
Will Paul Arbeen get at me if I let the balloons go? So people haven't been here for a while won't understand that.
So since you wrote me in, any thoughts on the tax increase from the city?
Yeah, I heard someone call in today. Was it the morning show or your show, Chad, where
morning show we had Griffith on today.
I don't understand the appraisals are skyrocketing, which is a good thing. It means our economy is doing well, and there are a lot more new rooftops. I mean, I don't understand it, and I'm sure unless you're in the seat of a council member, and I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt, especially since essentially they're volunteers. But I just don't understand how, with the increasing appraisals, how you can still add more to the rate. It just seems really the rate should be decreasing even a tiny bit, which means your taxes are still going up because chances are your house appraisal's more. I've been fighting I have a letter to George W. Bush when he was governor, because when I was a junior commercial property manager, I had buildings that were being reappraised over 50% in 1 year. And in that year, they were being reappraised an average of a third. And there's a lot of small business, little small coffee shops, print shops, things like that, where I don't want to explain a triple net lease over the radio, but small businesses get billed back for that type of thing. There might be a base year, and I don't want to get into that, or triple net leases. And the landlord gets hit if he has a regular lease like you do an apartment, or if there's a triple net lease, which is more likely, the tenant gets billed back. And they're really large bills. I mean, $11,000 in February, you mail a bill out to a small tenant for $11,000, and they're calling you like, Carl, you're about to throw us into bankruptcy. We don't, they didn't plan for that. They didn't budget for that. And these reappraisals are killing him. And I've been begging the governor, each governor, from George W. Bush to Rick Perry to Greg Abbott now, and I actually cornered the lieutenant governor at a session a couple of sessions ago about stop, messing around with the rates. The rates aren't, and Robert Pratt and I would have an argument about this, but the reality is most of your increases are coming from your appraisal. And governor, lieutenant governor, control the appraisals. Right now, your homestead is capped at 10%. It doesn't mean your house only went up 10%. It might have gone up 20%. But you're calculated up on a 10% increase from the year before, which in Austin, you're going to hit every year. Yeah. So after 3 years, you're at a 30% reappraisal. You're a young couple. You already spent too much on the house, and everything went up more than you expected it to. And then on commercial property, there's no cap. So like I said, you could have a 50% reappraisal and you budgeted for this much, and you got to tell your tenants, hey, you owe me $11,000. That's the amount that business owed me. And so they need to lower the cap on your homestead to 3 or 5%, and they need to introduce a cap on commercial property in Texas. Texas is a very business-friendly state, but there are things we can do to make it even more business-friendly. And that would be a stabilizing effect of somehow capping the appraisals. It doesn't mean it's not worth more. It's probably worth a lot more. A lot of appraisal districts are very generous. Some are tough. I noticed the Republican counties are very tough, much tougher than the Democratic counties I've been in. And so,
like Lubbock, Democrat County.
Lubbock is very, and Williamson County, I owned a building in Williamson County for a while. They were very tough, and Travis County was actually very generous with their appraisals. So there needs to be some type of stabilizing effect. I had a friend in Austin who was trying to build a factory for Apple Computer. And Apple Computer came back and told him, the chief financial officer of Apple Computer said, hey, can you forecast out the operating expenses for the real estate for the next 10 years? And he said, I can't. Between the reappraisals for the factory and the cost of utilities, I can't forecast 10 years. Yeah. And so I think that's a problem that the school districts and the cities and the counties would still get a 10 or 20% increase for commercial property. They'd still get their 5% increase in appraisals for your residential properties and homesteads, but it would give the citizens and businesses a little better buffer and stabilizing effect if they did something along those lines. And one of the things that amazes me is that how many legislators are completely clueless about how the state is funded and how the local entities are funded.
I think most of them are.
And they have no clue what I'm talking about. And it's really it's very disconcerting.
Well, not just that, but very quickly, I mean, what I've gathered over time, having to cover all this, is that they basically there are built-in mechanisms being used to have essentially a slush fund every year. Where XYZ entity, whether it's a city, county, school district, or whatever, either in concert with your appraisal district or just by raising the rate. Either way, we're going to get our 10%, 20% more every year. To hell with the people out there, we're going to get our money. And that's that. I mean, and I'm not saying all government entities have that attitude, but it seems like some of them do.
As we go to break, Governor Abbott just tweeted this out. More and more, I think it's time to do away with red light cameras in Texas. Studies show no evidence red light cameras lead to improvements in safety.
Oh, good. He's become a Republican again. Good. Good to hear it.
We'll be right back with Carl Tepper on the Chad Hasty Show. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in. Carl Tepper in studio, the host of PolitiFaith.
PolitiFaith, the award-winning #1 show. The #1 PolitiFaith.
What award did you win?
I won the slap on the back award.
Okay. That's good. I like that one. You can check him out. We just had a listener, Chris, who weighed in going, I did not know about the Sunday show. So now he's going to be tuning. You got
Chris, 12-1.
The
intersection of politics and religion. You know, the most interesting part lately has been the politics within the church. I mean, the denominations tearing each other apart. So we'll be talking a lot about that this year.
Let's talk about some campaign stuff. How do you think the Cruz O'Rourke campaign's going?
So we had a great discussion off air about this. Let me give you all the honest truth, and I'm aware of some internal polling. Haven't seen it, but I've just been getting some of the cross traffic from it. Ted Cruz is doing horrible right now. I mean, he needs to get out there. He needs to restructure his campaign. He needs to visit just about every county in the state and fight back for votes. Beto O'Rourke is running an amazingly efficient campaign.
He is.
He's saying the right things in the right places, crazy liberal one place, and then kind of softens it up when he talks to you in Lubbock, Chad. And so Ted Cruz, who has had some damage, and I know some of you are cringing, but I promise you I'm telling you the truth. He had some damage during the presidential campaign, which you think it would have been a positive because he ran an amazingly efficient campaign for president.
Right.
He was the last standing candidate against the behemoth Donald Trump. So he should have been able to come home with, obviously, he's an incredible guy, very smart, very efficient, very energetic, but it's just not reflecting back at home. He's done great running in Iowa and New Hampshire, but he's having a lot of trouble in Lubbock, Amarillo. The agricultural community is very annoyed with him. I think it had something to do with the last farm bill. And he hasn't been. You
can tell from that till now, he's tried to beef up a little bit on his ag stuff.
And, and he was back to Lubbock about 4 times. I think the noise got real loud, and he came here about 4 times and spoke with the farmers, but he hasn't had a lot of real big rallies out here, a lot of visits with the business community.
Yeah.
Some people say he's aloof. I had one text from a friend last night who said she's a big donor and has never gotten a thank you. I'm a donor. I've never gotten a thank you. Even when you donate online, I guess I probably got a receipt that said thank you very much. But a lot of people get cards. I remember Carol Keaton Rylander Strayhorn McClellan used to send handwritten notes to every donor, whether it was $10 or $10,000. She made sure she thanked everyone. So Ted Cruz has a lot of issues. I understand he's polling lower than any of the federal candidates in the state, which means all those, congressional candidates, some of them have some tough races, and Ted's polling lower than they are. There's supposed to be a rally on Monday, and nobody knows when, where. I mean, really, the morning show should be announcing this stuff.
Yeah.
Matt Crow, Matt Martin this morning, and you, Chad, and of course, Robert Pratt this afternoon should be announcing, Ted Cruz will be here at this place at this time on Monday in Lubbock, and nobody knows anything
There's
yet.
no official word, and I've been asked a lot, and obviously we're talking about it now. There's nothing official. Maybe we'll know later on. Maybe we'll know in 5 minutes.
That means,
but there's nothing official.
And, you've got the weekend. By the way, Ted, I'll be happy to announce you on PolitiFaith. But besides that, and you might actually have somebody hear it because we have ratings. But it's been an amazingly incompetent job with that campaign so far, and they need to make some changes.
Do you
or the voters are going to make some changes, and we're going to be really miserable with pretty much a socialist member of the U.S. Senate, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I think Cruz is going to win. And I don't know how many of the same people we talk to, but I think Cruz is going to win. I think the campaign's going to get going. I think it's been slow, but I think one of the problems that I keep hearing from from Cruz. They're supporters of Cruz, but maybe they're not totally happy, is that there's a disconnect, that they don't see him enough. They don't see him. They like what he's doing, but they don't see him enough, so they're not fired up about Cruz. And that's the problem, I think, that Cruz, if he's going to have a problem, that's the problem, is people are not fired up to go and vote.
And to juxtapose that, you've got Beto O'Rourke, who's got a very energetic campaign right now. They have essentially become the top of the ticket. It used to be the governor's race, but you've got that crazy woman who was Greg Abbott's.
Yeah,
Lupe Valdez, yeah. Who used to be top of the ticket. She's, she's
not raising. She's not doing it.
No, she's petering out. So you've got Ted Cruz, and Beto O'Rourke has turned his race in the top of the ticket. If Ted Cruz can't get enough energy going, it's going to hurt our U.S. congressional candidates, our House of Representative candidates down the ballot, and some of whom have some very tight races. We don't need to lose. Heaven knows we don't want to lose the House of Representatives, certainly not from Texas.
Yeah.
So we need Ted Cruz to do well for the rest of our ticket to do well down the ballot.
It's just, when all the different polls, and if you believe the polls, don't believe the polls, but, a lot of these polls show Greg Abbott winning by 15 points. It's hard for me to believe that Greg Abbott's going to win by 15 points and Ted Cruz is going to lose to Beto O'Rourke. I mean, that would be a massive swing from Republican vote if that turns out to be the case. So that's why
it's a good point.
I mean, you could, if you really want to bring, Ted Cruz might be riding the coattails of Greg Abbott.
And will that be, because we still have straight ticket voting here in Texas, which is going to go away from my understanding in 2020.
Yeah.
It might reappear in this legislative session.
But I mean, if Greg Abbott wins by 15 points, Cruz wins easy. You would think.
Will people split their ticket?
I don't see that. I mean, they're going to vote for Greg Abbott, but then go vote for Beto, not vote for a senator.
But it happens. I remember in the old days, in like 1994, when Lubbock County flipped to Republican and that sort of thing, they still voted for John T. Montford for state senate. I mean, they've got no qualms about splitting their ticket. They're not loyal one way or the other. So I don't know. I'm a little concerned if you're a Ted Cruz fan, and I am too. By the way, Ted Cruz votes in the Senate are phenomenally excellent.
Yeah.
So losing that energy, he's also matured some. He is trying to make some deals and cut some. He tried to cut some deals on eliminating Obamacare. I was real proud of him for going to the other senators, trying to work something out. That's how you legislate.
Yeah, it's smart for him to float the idea of bringing Trump to Texas.
Absolutely.
Which would most likely be in Houston.
Look, Donald Trump's had him over to the White House, I think, a couple of times for dinner now. It looks like they get along famously well. I think they're agreeing on a lot of things. Donald Trump's turned into a conservative. I think people are shocked at how conservative his administration has been. And so really they should be natural allies at this point. And I'm hoping and praying that they've put all that campaign stuff aside, and Ted Cruz will be out here, and Donald Trump does need to stump for him. And I think Donald Trump doesn't need to take Texas for granted. I think he needs to come to the state. And I think he needs to have a victory lap because our economy is so hot and is doing so well. And I'm so proud of the president. I think the people of Texas would like to thank him a little bit.
All right, we'll take the break. When we come back, we'll have one more segment with Carl Tepper. Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Final segment, Carl Tepper in studio. And let's head to the phones. Alan, you're on. What's going on today?
Well, I just wanted to say that the person that's done the most damage in rural areas to the Republicans holding on to their power is probably your Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, Glenn Hagar. And I wouldn't vote for him this fall. I wish we would have gotten our ag valuations before the primary. I would have voted against him in the primary. Because evidently we hired one of the group that you had on your show about protesting the doubling of ag valuations, and the response of the individual that went to the protest meeting for us says the assistant board, protest board rules in favor of the ag valuations for this year. Ag valuations are very difficult to change because they are set by the state. And that's what we were finding out this year, that your local assessment, tax assessor collector was given the green light from Austin to just do whatever you wanted to do with ag valuations. And they did. They doubled them. On dry land, some of which didn't have a crop this year, last year, and they won't have a crop this year. And their
Alan,
valuations are doubled.
Is that in Lubbock County or in some of the surrounding counties?
It's surrounding county.
Yeah.
And they will be that high next year as well, because you always have a 1 year delay in being able to reassess
right,
based on zero production. But some of these farms now have had zero production 2 years in a row on cotton production, and you only get 60 to 65% of your 10-year average anyway from crop insurance. People will have to be very well heeled to start paying their property taxes, particularly the rural school taxes, which will triple if they go to the full extent that they can collect this year. The taxes on that property will be tripled.
Wow. Alan, thank you. Appreciate it.
Alan, that's a good call. Chad, you might want to call. I've never heard a complaint about
I've never heard
Glenn
a complaint
Hager.
about Glenn Hager. No.
So that might be a good interview for you to find out what happened.
You got people who are talking about him as someone who could run for governor.
He's a potential lieutenant governor candidate. That might be a great interview if you get him on the phone.
Yeah. Let's see, 770-5790. 1-800-687-0790. So we had a texter. You're in commercial real estate, and they were asking you the potential fallout for downtown redevelopment and real estate in the downtown area if Reagor-Dykes goes under.
A couple of things. Those guys are genuinely very nice. A lot of people don't like their bravado. It's kind of like the Donald Trump effect, but they're actually, if you get them in a room by themselves, they're really very nice guys. And of course, there's so many jobs at stake here. They did some great redevelopment, which is just a fraction of what the McDougals have downtown. I'll tell you right now.
Right.
They're great marketers. Their stuff is definitely high profile. That green building that they redeveloped, and a couple of other buildings, and one of which they hadn't gotten around to yet, the old Levine's building. Mm-hmm. They're great at cleaning them up and putting a good face on them, but they haven't been developed yet from the inside. They were members of some downtown investor groups, so I don't know how that's all going to fall out, but downtown is very hot right now. Their stuff has leases on it. It's not just them occupying some of it. So the trustee will probably go in and appoint some kind of managers to go in and continue to manage those buildings. I doubt those people will be kicked out of the buildings or anything if they're paying their lease, and their lease is in full force and effect. So it's not great. They are great believers in downtown. They did some incredible stuff downtown. They have some dealerships downtown and the downtown TIF on 19th Street as well. But, guys, we sound like vultures, but that's business. Other people will go in there and buy up that stuff and maybe get it 50 cents on the dollar or something.
I was about to say there could potentially be some pretty good deals on buildings.
Bad news for one guy could be an opportunity for another.
Yeah. And it might be to the point where downtown, downtown redevelopment is it may be to the point where, since it is hot,
we can almost use a little
it.
relief, but I don't see it happening. As a matter of fact, it was a little bit of a quiet summer, and then suddenly I got slammed this week with listing buildings, and then as quickly as I'm listing them, I'm getting 2 or 3 showings a day, and possibly contracts within the first week of listing, which makes me wonder, did I price it right or what? But it's not great. Boy, I'm praying for those guys. You find yourself in a bind, and if you've been in business, guys, any one of us can end up in a bind. And a lot of people don't like their bravado, but I promise you, Rick Dykes and Bart Reagor are super. I can't believe the stuff they've given to us at the Salvation Army and other nonprofits and the Mounted Police Force. And so I'm praying it all works out somehow. Maybe it's a misstep. If there's a comeback story to be had, I believe in Bart Reagor. That guy's got energy and smarts and drive like you've never seen. So watch out there. These guys they could be the comeback story of Lubbock century. So watch out.
Let's see real quick. Let's go to the phones. Van, you're on KFYO.
Well, good morning again, Chad. Real quickly, several years ago, the chief appraiser of the state of Texas, all of the counties, the appraisal districts, that was an elected position. And the counties, the cities, and the schools got together, decided they didn't have enough control over value and taxation, so they went to Austin and got it changed to where now the chief appraiser of every district is appointed by the commissioner's court, and he works at the pleasure of the commissioners and the county judge. If we have someone that wants to change the system, then that wants to get elected, they need to put it back to where that's an elected position as a chief appraiser, and he doesn't work. You know, it's kind of like the fox guard in the hen house, but Austin does set the value. They send out a value for your commercial, your residential, commercial, agricultural valuations. They send out a profile, and every district follows that profile. So that is where it starts. But we need to go back to having our chief appraiser as an elected position and not appointed by the commissioner's court.
Van, good call. Appreciate it.
Van, I always thought that was a red herring for a long time, and then I'm starting. Some of my appraisals on my homestead are very skewed to the good side of the block and not the bad side of the block. So I'm starting to appreciate what you're saying. I'm starting to consider it.
Noon to 1, PolitiFaith, the number one show on Sunday.
Number 1, 12 to 1. PolitiFaith, the intersection of politics and religion. Thank you, Chad. A lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. Appreciate it.